Could you buy a better phone? Yes, probably. Could you buy a better phone at $899? Probably not. The OnePlus 15 is so good, especially with no price increase this year, but just like with most phones, it's not perfect. And that's perfectly fine if you're buying one for the right reasons. Box contents is not one of those reasons if you're buying the phone in Europe though, as you'll only get the phone, a charging cable, and a SIM ejector tool. But if one of those reasons is insanely fast charging, then this phone has you covered. Yes, it still has the same 50-watt wireless charging, but wide charging is now up to 120 watts, and it can charge fully in under 40 minutes, which is crazy when you realize the next reason. It has an even larger, massive 7,300 mAh silicon carbon battery this year, and what is even crazier is that even though it has a larger battery, it's now actually thinner. Design is another good reason. I have it in Infinite Black, which has an AG glass matte black finish. It's perfect black, and I absolutely love that. It's probably the only phone I've ever used that refuses to show fingerprint smudges. And it is definitely the only phone I've ever seen that lets you wipe off scratches, though I'm sure a deep enough scratch will stay put. So here comes the first wrong reason to buy it. Its back glass is protected by Gorilla Glass 7i. The I stands for intermediate, and it's seen in many mid-range smartphones. But here's the thing, the Sandstorm color has a fiberglass back, which is stronger. And that really annoys me because the color shouldn't determine a phone's build quality. Even more so, only the Sandstorm color has ceramic coated metal side rails, which are also stronger. The Sandstorm costs the same too, but only comes in a 512 gig option. The black and violet colors stick to aluminum for the same price. Everything else about them is exactly the same though. So if you want a black phone with the best protection, this probably isn't the phone for you. Though I'm sure it's still more than strong enough anyway. Those matte black frames do look the part though, and so does the all black camera module, which barely sticks out. And its new design means it's easy to hold the phone without smudging the lenses. Waterproofing has also improved. It now has an IP66, 68, 69 and IP69K certification. Whatever all that means, well, I mean to you it means that it can still survive water jets, but it can now dive deeper at 2 meters. The front, regardless of which color you buy, is protected by a flagship level Gorilla Glass Victus 2. The fingerprint scanner is still ultrasonic, so it requires just a tap, but the bezels wrapping around the screen are now even thinner at just 1.15 millimeters, and the actual display is now completely flat, which I honestly prefer. The AMOLED screen itself is now smaller at 6.78 inches. It has a lower resolution with less pixels per inch, but I doubt you'd notice a difference in real life. Full screen brightness is increased to 1800 nits, touch sampling has jumped up to 3200 Hz thanks to a dedicated touch response chip, and screen refresh rate now sits at 165 Hz. It still uses LTPO tech, but from 1 Hz to only 120 Hz, not 165. If you hop into app-specific refresh rate settings, you'll soon notice that only certain games have an option for 165 Hz. Most apps only have a 120 Hz option, and the same goes for the system UI. The good news is that unlike most flagships, this LTPO panel actually does drop to 1 FPS all the time. They've dubbed this as the industry's first 1.5K screen with 165 Hz, but that 165 Hz spec is literally only for gaming, and even then only a handful of games support it. For now. Question: would you rather have 2K 120 Hz or 1.5K 165 Hz? Another big reason to buy one is because it's powered by the new Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 chipset, and OnePlus have tuned it with something called CPU Scheduler, which uses more power for more demanding tasks and less for simpler tasks. This is paired alongside a new, larger cooling system consisting of a screen cooler, a massive vapor chamber, and a white graphite back cover, as well as upgraded UFS 4.1 storage and the world's fastest smartphone RAM, LPDDR5X Ultra Plus, for the 16 gig variant. So naturally, benchmark scores are right up there with the best. One of the few games that actually support the native 165 Hz refresh rate is Real Racing 3, and while it does reach 165 FPS at times, it mostly hovers around 140 FPS. I gotta say though, this phone really doesn't get very hot. Another game that natively supports 165 FPS is Call of Duty Mobile, and unlike real racing, it sticks to 165 the whole time. But only because if you enable Ultra FPS mode within the game settings, the graphics preset drops to medium and can't be changed. The good news is that with OnePlus's in-game overlay, you can upscale the graphics quality and resolution. And for games that limit FPS to 60 like Genshin Impact, there's a frame interpolation feature which doubles the frame rate to 120. There's a bunch of other features you can enable too, like bypass charging and system stats to see live FPS. Unfortunately, not all games support features like frame interpolation, so games like Wuthering Waves are stuck at 60. The good news is that it sits at 60 FPS most of the time with all settings maxed out. Grid Legends is a console port, so frame rate caps at 30 when set to graphics mode. It's not the most optimized game for mobile though, so it uses a lot more GPU power. But even then, it sits at a solid 30 FPS the whole time. Wreckfest is another PC game, and while it also requires a lot of power, it sits at a stable 60 FPS, which is the game's limit. Bright Memory Infinite, which is a seriously demanding PC port, with effects flying all around the screen, runs at a smooth 120 FPS, and the phone runs it so damn well, even with all the graphical settings maxed out. And finally, Delta Force, which is one of my favorite PC ported games, can also run at 120 frames, and it can do this with the graphics quality set to HD. I recently reviewed the Red Magic 11 Pro, which is literally a gaming phone, and that only allows 120 FPS when the graphics quality is dropped to standard. I'm really happy with how it runs on this phone. I just hope that a future update allows for 165 FPS, because there is a grayed out option for it in the game settings menu. The phone's haptic motor has actually downgraded, which kinda sucks, but it somehow feels just as good. The good news is that its speakers have been upgraded. They sound more balanced and are certainly louder. Another big upgrade is the new dedicated Wi-Fi chip, which boasts a stronger connection, a longer range, and apparently guarantees lower latency ping when in a gaming session. We also still have a USB 3.2 Type-C port, an IR blaster, and there's eSIM support as well. But this time they've replaced the alert slider with something called the plus key. It's pretty much a shortcut button which is set to sound profiles by default, but you can set it to a bunch of different shortcuts, including Mindspace, just like we saw with the recent Oppo Find X9 Pro, and it works exactly the same. Short press for a screenshot, double press to open Mindspace, and hold to take a voice memo, which gets transcribed extremely fast. And just like with the Oppo, it works seamlessly with Google Gemini, so you can go ahead and ask Gemini about things that you've saved in Mindspace. There's a bunch of other useful AI features too, like AI search, which is baked into the phone's global search feature. The phone is of course running Oxygen OS 16 based on Android 16, and it's pretty much the same as Color OS 16. So visual elements have improved along with animations and fluidity. There's also loads of ways to customize your device, along with a full screen always on display which can be permanently enabled. Okay, so everything seems great so far. Most of the phone has actually been upgraded from last year's model. But then there's the cameras. Hasselblad is no more, and every single sensor has been downgraded. There's still a triple 50 megapixel setup on the back, but all their sensor sizes are smaller and all their apertures are now narrower. I mean, the telephoto camera is the same sensor the Oppo Find X9 Pro uses for its ultra-wide and selfie camera. The only camera that's actually been upgraded here is the selfie. But now there's a new Detail Max imaging engine. So maybe, just maybe, post-processing has improved so much that OnePlus have decided to downgrade camera hardware in order to upgrade everything else and still keep the price the same without taking too much of a knock on camera performance. Or maybe this is the one major reason to not buy this phone. Well, ultra-wide photos actually look really good as a whole, even during sunset, but distant detail is a bit underwhelming. Snaps with the main come out very much flagship level with superb detail and very accurate colors, and a lot of detail is retained when pixel binning thanks to a 26 megapixel option. I was actually very surprised by the quality of the periscope. I did not think a JN5 sensor as a telephoto would work, but with some clever software, the OnePlus 15 absolutely nails clarity, white balance, and dynamic range. Macro mode using the periscope works very well too, and so does what OnePlus is calling 7 times optical quality zoom, even when daylight is falling away at this hour. And I was pretty impressed with how much detail is still visible when zooming into the max 120x zoom. Portrait mode returns of course, and this time edge detection is perfect even when using the main camera. I couldn't believe that this telephoto portrait used a subpar sensor. The shot looks great. That new selfie sensor does an awesome job too, even when cropping in the sensor, and edge detection in portrait mode is almost perfect. But at night, only the portrait selfie pic actually looks decent. It usually takes a very good main and telephoto sensor to take flagship level portraits at night, but honestly, this OnePlus looks just as good as any other camera-driven flagship. But then the ultra-wide starts to show its true colors at night, with below average light noise handling and very muddy distant detail. I took all these photos in regular photo mode with auto night mode enabled, by the way. The main camera of course does a better job. Light noise is handled a lot better, and so is detail. You honestly wouldn't say that the main sensor is smaller this year. A lot of larger telephoto sensors struggle to nail light noise, but somehow this average sensor managed to even pick up detail within these light bulbs. And while detail isn't perfect at night, it does a more than decent job. Color tones and white balance are honestly pretty spot on. 7 times zoom at night isn't exactly optical level, and while 30 times looks okay, the max 120x zoom is a bit of a hit and miss at night. Ultra-wide video during the day comes out detailed enough, even with the sunset in the scene. But what really surprised me here was how stable the video came out. And the same goes for the main, which naturally packs in more detail, and considering how windy it was on this day, stability is superb. All the sensors can shoot at 4K 60fps by the way, even the selfie, and they can all do so with Dolby Vision enabled. Panning with the telephoto at 3.5 times has things come out very smooth, layered with detail, and there's very minimal noise grain even when shooting during golden hour. It's one of the first Androids to feature 4K 120fps Dolby Vision slow motion, and it looks incredible, but it's limited to just the main camera. 720p 480fps is also fixed to the main camera, but you can shoot 1080p 240 with all the rear sensors. There's still an option for 8K video, but it's still only there for the main sensor. You don't really need a portrait mode for natural depth, but there is a 4K portrait video option which works great for the main and telephoto. Tonal range is on 0.2, thanks to OnePlus now introducing real-time tone mapping technology. And you can also shoot 4K selfie portrait video, which looks very good, even with the sun in the background.
So with that portrait video, we actually had the selfie portrait video that you just saw. We had the sun against us. Now we have the sun on that side, so my face should be lit up quite nicely. This is regular selfie video, by the way, and we can do it at 4K 60fps at wide or at 1x. It looks pretty good to me. Let me know your thoughts on the video quality as well as, of course, the microphone performance. And keep in mind that it's quite windy here today.
But selfie video at night comes out, well, as expected. I'm still yet to find a phone that can shoot perfect selfie night video, but the fact that the main camera can shoot 8K video this good at night is a crime. The telephoto camera does smoothen my face a tiny bit when shooting portrait video at night, but it looks very good, and I was really surprised to see pretty much no noise grain here. Noise grain is certainly noticeable when recording ultra-wide video at night, but it's quite minimal, and dare I say it, I've seen worse ultra-wide video from other flagships with better ultra-wide cameras when filming at night. Light noise is handled better, and noise grain is almost non-apparent when using the main camera to record video at night. Exposure is great, and stability is surprisingly good considering most flagship sensors struggle when walking around shooting video at night. And while telephoto video isn't perfect, it's very impressive how well it exposes things and how smooth panning is at night. You'd only know this if you saw any of my recent reviews where I also show telephoto panning videos, and honestly, I can't believe this is a JN5 sensor. I actually planned on saying that this phone is like a double-edged sword. It has the best of everything, but cameras are a bit of a letdown. But then I went through all the footage, and honestly, the ends kind of justify the means. Software is so good and post-processing is implemented so well that this actually feels like a camera upgrade and not a downgrade. Sure, you could get a better camera phone out there, but it's not going to be that much better. So let's cover bases of the right reasons to buy one. I'd say camera performance can be one, but the main reasons are for the faster charging, the massive battery, the new simplistic design, the flat screen with razor-thin bezels and 165Hz refresh rate, the new chipset, faster RAM and storage, and an improved cooling system offering a gaming experience close to an actual gaming phone, along with clever gaming software. The new speakers, new side button, and very well thought out software. The reasons not to buy one would be the fact that the best build quality is limited to just one color variant. The screen resolution has decreased, not that you'd notice, and the haptic motor has been downgraded. Again, not that you'd really notice. If you want better camera hardware, then there's always the Oppo Find X9 Pro, which is pretty much the same phone. I mean, it even looks identical. But that costs $400 more. The OnePlus 15 is not trying to be better than everything else, it's trying to be the best phone for $899, and I feel like they've absolutely nailed it. As always, this is TechNick, and I'll catch you in the next one.